Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here without Bob Stewart today. That's right, folks. I'm recording this. Bob is away on his birthday vacation to Cabo. If you follow Bob on Instagram, you have seen the fun they are having. If you don't follow Active Bob, you should absolutely see the things that he is up to. And then he can stop telling us about his kids' basketball because you can just watch it on Instagram all day. Bob, we love you. No, you probably aren't going to listen to this episode because Bob's away. The mice will play. Folks, I'm leaning into health today because I don't have Bob saying, I don't want to talk about it. Even though Bob Stewart, you know you're one of the 7 listeners that needs this topic today. Folks, we talk about a lot of things: health, wealth, leadership, legacy here at Win, Make, Give. Sometimes we work all of them into one conversation. Today, we're focusing on that health, although I guarantee you, it brings you the legacy. If you're not around, healthy, and alive, there's no legacy of you when the time comes. Be around for a few generations, build something, and it all starts with your health. You've heard it again. You've been warned. Health is the conversation of today's talk. You know you need it, so do not say, oh, I'm going to just skip this episode, Chad. And it was funny because I just skipped it on my phone mime for some reason. I don't know why. How many of you do that? How many of you, like when you say, hey, text me, you actually move your thumbs like you're texting, even though you don't have a phone in your hand? I don't know. Katie, do you do that ever? Like, do you say text me and you'll move your fingers like you are pretending to?
Oh, yeah, I'm right with you. I'm acting it out. We're there.
Okay. Got it. I mean, it's like when we were younger, I don't know, Katie, your age, I would never ask a woman her age. When I was younger, we'd say, call me, right? And we'd actually put our finger and our thumb to our side of our head like a telephone. Now we do those crazy things. Folks, you've heard her voice. You could tell how healthy she sounded just from her voice. I want to welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast our guest for this week. That's Katie Hardie. Katie, thanks for joining us.
Chad, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I just realized, Katie, I don't have my water beside me. There'll be no hydrating
water
during this. So if I ask a long question and you answer it and I don't respond quickly, it's because I ran away to go get water from you. No, I would never walk away for that. I'll make it. I'm already hydrated. Katie, we don't read bios, even though you have a lovely ChatGPT written bio, as everybody does nowadays. I'm not going to read it. We just want you to introduce yourself to our audience as you see fit. Dive in. Let them know who Katie is.
All right. Well, I'm Katie Hardie, and I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, which means I look at people's blood, urine, saliva, and poop, not directly, but I look at the results from them. And I combine all that with my board certification in holistic nutrition, strength and conditioning background, sport and performance psychology, culinary backgrounds, and I put it all together to go on this super fun journey where people figure out how to optimize their mental, physical, emotional well-being, because health is the prerequisite for peak performance. So if that's not there, you're missing out on your peak potential.
Love that. And, you know, our founder, Ben Kinney, the guy who's behind the whole Win, Make, Give, he's been on a kick lately with telling everybody, go get your blood work done, go get all the research, right? Of course, folks, I want to say this. When you go get your blood work done, and Katie, hopefully you'll support me on this one. If not, shoot me down and tell me why not, right? When you go get your blood work done, specifically your blood work, yes, your urine, your stool, Sam, all that stuff. But when you get your blood work done, everybody gets their results back and they panic. Folks, remember, that's just a snapshot. Until you've done it a second time, we don't have a trend. Would you agree with that comment, or am I crazy telling everybody to calm down a minute?
Yeah, well, yes, and so yes, it's a snapshot. And did you know what lab numbers are based upon? Like, are they based upon health recommendations or what? They're actually based on the average of the population taking it. So basically, you kind of are like, everything's fine, it's fine until you're totally broken. And that's kind of how our lab ranges are set up.
All right. So something else we do a little backwards here in our country with our lab stuff being done in the wrong order. Katie, let's get into it. I mean, here's a woman who introduces herself and you know, she works poop right into it, folks. And thankfully you're not there examining everything. I don't need to be bleeding on you. I don't need to be spitting on you and all the other stuff so that you could say, yeah, let's bring it on. It's the results, folks. Go to a professional lab to get the tests. There are websites you can use if you want. Let's just start right there, Katie. I'm listening to this conversation. I want to dive deeper into my health journey. I want to perfect. I want peak. I want to know things I should be worried about that are possibly, red flagged in my system. Where would you, as a pro on this, recommend I go first? Is there a specific website? Is there a specific lab company that does better than others? Is it, I got to go to 4 different places because there's 4 different things I want to track? Talk to us a little bit about how important it is not to just go to, your neighbor and say, hey, can you draw blood for me?
Right. Well, it always depends on your goal. So is your goal just to expand the number of years you're here, sitting in a chair, watching other people have fun? Or is your goal to be the one out there having fun and kicking ass? So there's one distinguishing factor.
We're going to go with option 2 for everybody, because I don't know anybody that listens to the Win, Make, Give podcast that says, yes, I want to just sit in the chair and watch everybody have fun around me.
Exactly. And that's why when you go to the doctor and have your labs run, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the ranges we're looking at are basically telling you you're good until you're going to be that person sitting on the sidelines watching everybody else. So if you're wanting to be the one feeling awesome or having your peak potential, then you want to be minimizing, like narrowing those ranges and looking at tighter ranges where people actually feel good and look good and perform well. And so you can do that on your own, taking the lab results you already have and, kind of Googling functional medicine ranges, or you can also work with somebody who's trained on more of those lifestyle behavior, nutrition components versus waiting till you're in that dysfunction range where, oh, guess what? Now we got a corresponding pharmaceutical we can give you to manage that, but not necessarily set you up for your best potential.
Okay, so where should I go to get the numbers? Because I need to have them, whether I'm hiring you or I just want to go listen to my doctor who is just giving me generic answers and doesn't know me. First step is I have to go have someone take my blood, sample my urine, all the other things that you mentioned on there. Is there somewhere specific everybody should quickly open up the website and search for, the specific lab near them or something?
Right. So it's more about, I think, the provider or the practitioner. So if you have a really good relationship with your primary care provider, I'm sure they've already given, blood work requisitions that you can look at. And depending on their background, they may or may not be more functionally minded or more conventionally minded. So conventionally minded is awesome for, dealing with an acute injury, surgery type situation. It's not necessarily going to set you up for promoting health or peak potential. And so that's somebody who's going to be a little more functionally minded. Obviously, somebody like myself can do all those things too with that functional lens. And so it depends on the system that you want to work with, the type of person you want to work with. But I have clients who have great doctors and we work together as a team, and I have other people where they're in a smaller town and don't have as many options. So they like to work with people virtually elsewhere who can offer all these, I would say, holistic approach services.
But you can't take my blood. Let's just be clear. You're in Colorado. I'm in Florida. You cannot take my blood. Where should Chad go today if I want to get my blood to then have Katie be able to help me with the numbers and the research and the stuff I'm looking at? Are you going to just send me to a Quest lab in my town?
Correct. No, nor would I want to grab your lab or your blood or your urine or your stool. So how that works is people ship in the urine, saliva, the poop samples, but for the blood, yes, I personally use LabCorp for requisitions, and then they give me the results. And then I live in a small town in the mountains in Colorado. We don't even have a LabCorp, but our hospital will ship it to them. So that's the beauty of all these, great technologies that we have is I can be in Colorado and I can be working with somebody in New Jersey or California or Spain, and we can still get things done.
Perfect. All right. So folks, understand that yes, there are places to go, which is what I was attempting to get from Katie, yet you should probably figure out who you're having help you with this plan before you just go run out and take some test, because maybe they want to test for something specific. Maybe Katie knows there are certain things that when you just go to Quest Labs or whatever it is, or LabCorp, that they're going to give you back these 20 markers, yet Katie really wants these 10 markers that all you have to do is request at the time, and they'll track those numbers as well. Don't just go running out to any website and sending them your stool sample. Make sure you're figuring out how you're going to work with, whether it's just your doctor or whether you're stepping it up and going to someone like Katie for this stuff. Katie, how does someone get into this? I mean, do you have a story that you were incredibly out of health and you were complete whacked and you figured this all out, or someone in your family, or did you just completely be fascinated this, you were taking the blood of your doll when you were a little girl or something, and it was just always a thing?
Well, a lot of people in my family are in the medical or dental field. So I always had an interest in science. I was also that weird kid who, did you guys have the Presidential Fitness Challenge tests? Like where
Well, I
you
grew up in Toronto, so
okay.
we called it something else. Yet,
You know what I'm
yes, I
talking
remember
about
the
though, right?
presidential
Where like
fitness.
the mile, the pull-ups, the shuttle run, the sit and reach, and like,
The dead
whatever.
arm hang was the worst. Just
You,
hanging there. That
you
was
didn't
the
have like
worst.
the full-on pull-ups?
Well, we had pull-ups, but I
Okay.
remember one that we did was the dead arm hang, where you just had to hold yourself at eye level on the bar
Yeah.
as long as you could. That
Okay.
was the one that I hated the most.
Well, that was my first exposure to like competition, and I didn't even know what a pull up was. And then the gym teacher told me how to do it. And then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, you got the school record." I was like, "Cool." And I was like, "When do we do this again?" And that was when I was like, "Hey, mom and dad, can I get a pull up bar for my birthday?" And I wanted to like, train. And I, again, this is like third, fourth grade. I don't really have the strength and conditioning, background that I have now, but I did know like it's probably like an every other day type of thing. And I would like legit go do my pull-ups every other day. And then, got better, and I would make them go run with me because I would get anxious about the mile run. And so they kind of draw straws, who has to run with her today to, pace her. And so I always had this kind of fascination with performance, physical, initially. And then, as I got older, it kind of got more into the sports psychology, like not like fixing broken, but how you take something or someone from good to great. Like, what is that? And so did a whole degree in sport and performance psychology. And then, sometimes people with those driven mindsets can fall prey to the burnout mentality, where you just more is better. Go, go, go. You can sleep when you're dead. You're lazy if you nap. Like, what are you doing sitting down? Like, what did you just get done? What are you productive with? And there's always more to be doing. And so it
You
was,
just described our audience. Very
yes.
good. Yes.
And so, high achievers tend to have those components. And it wasn't until I really started understanding how to run and interpret labs that look at your adrenals. Like, that's what produces your cortisol, your DHEA, your stress hormones. And then downstream of that is your sex hormones. And so it wasn't until, like I understood all these concepts. I'm like, yeah. The rest stuff kind of applies to everybody else. I don't need that. I'm better than that. And then I, sent in my labs. I went on this backcountry, ski hut trip. It was like a crazy stressful time in my life where I was burning the candle at both ends, like many like unusual stressors, eating crappier, drinking more, staying up too late, working out too much, overtraining, under recovering. And I was skiing out of the hut trip, and we were like 10 miles from the car on the top, of the pass. I'm about 5 turns in, and, we're going one at a time because it's high AVI risk. And all of a sudden, like my foot caught something and I fell. I'm like, oh my God, this is really embarrassing. Like, I need to get up before the next person sees that I fell down. And I went to pop my foot back in because I was like, thinking, why did I even fall? I went to pop my foot back in and my knee bent backwards. I was like, damn it. I think that's my ACL. And so I'm like trying to ski down, and every position I went, the knee would pop out to the side, pop behind. And anyway, I had to like ski and crawl my way out, and turned out it was my ACL. And then after I got back, I got my lab results, and on paper, I was the perfect scenario case study for high cortisol, low DHEA, complete breakdown, like your body's breaking itself down, and that sets you up for injury at the time that's least opportune. Like you have no time to deal with it. It's kind of like, when do you get sick? The worst possible time. So if you don't
Right.
take the action and create the space to recover, your body will force it when you don't really want it. And so that was kind of, I had other things along the way, but that was kind of like, oh, it applies to me too. Okay, so how can we get in front of this so we don't lose a whole year of, the exact, physical activities you want to do, but all these same concepts, whether you're concerned about physical performance, professional performance, or just being like an awesome human being, it starts with health and having everything in balance. And a lot of things can look great on the outside and just barely be hanging on the inside, and it affects your gut, your hormones, just your vitality, your ability to focus, and inflammation in the body. It covers everything. But that's what it took for me to be like, hello, you are part of this equation too, not just everybody else needs to follow it.
Okay, so I know your answer is going to be avoid the answer because I'm going to want a specific from you. And you're going to say everybody's different and everybody's unique. And we get that. Let's put that discussion aside. When it comes to health, I and you can add a category to this if you want. I would believe the categories that come to being in peak health condition without getting specifics are going to be sleep,
Mhm.
hydration, nutrition, and exercise. Those would be the four kind of buckets that I would come up with if someone was saying to me, let's look at my health, that I would say, well, let's look at these four and break it down.
Mhm.
Before I go on, is
Yeah.
there a fifth bucket
Yeah.
or did I kind of hit the four?
Yeah, there is a fifth, and this is the one that I completely dismissed too until the situation happened, is nervous system work or recovery.
Okay.
Because in
So
order
recovery.
Yes, in order for that top end to happen, like, whether it's a sprint or output, efficiency, you fill in the blank with what's relevant to you, you have to be able to bring things down. And so I call like nervous system work kind of like your reverse sprints. Because most people who are focused on output, they want a number behind it. Like with endurance athletes, any athlete, but I feel like particularly endurance athletes kind of be more like type A. Like if this is good, I'm going to do a little bit more because that feels better. And so when you hear, oh, you're overtraining, they're like, yeah, I'm overachieving. And you're like, you got to reframe it to you're under recovering. You're not hitting the mark. And so I like to kind of shift that mindset of the nervous system work or intentional recovery to how do you measure hitting the mark versus like, oh, I'll fit it in when, if I have time after the other things. Because if you don't prioritize that, the other things aren't going to happen. They're not going to happen to the peak potential they can. And it's such important work that the military uses it and integrates it because you don't want to waste energy having your body constantly in fight or flight because it's very draining of like your body's battery. And so if you can most efficiently drop down to recovery and save turning on the battery for the exact moments you need it versus like mulling and thinking about and, like staying in that physically stressed state when you're in the comfort of your home, remembering something from 10 years ago or 10 days ago. Like if you can shorten that active time of stress mode, you have that much more energy for all the other things that are much more important than ruminating. And so the more people are efficiently shifting into that down mode of like recovery, the more efficient they are going up too, and the higher output they can have. So yes, everything you said plus that.
Okay, so my question, I think you might have answered, even though I hadn't asked it yet. Of the five, if we say five buckets, for the general person listening to this podcast right now, if they want to improve their health, which bucket is the key bucket to focus on? Because our audience wants to do all five of them.
I know.
Right? I'm going to change my nutrition, change my hydration. I'm going to all of a sudden sleep, change my sleep. I'm going to do it. They can't. It's not going to happen that way. Which is the one bucket that you would say, and you may just say, well, Chad, I just gave you a 5-minute answer on recovery. That's absolutely the bucket. Is that the first bucket we should all focus on? Or would one of the other buckets be, well, Chad, if you can get your nutrition in order, it does this. Or if you can get your sleep, it does this. Which bucket's number one?
if your average person is a high performer, that's not the actual average person out there. So I'm going to talk about your audience, which is probably not the type who needs a nudge to go do more, right?
No, they do not need a nudge to
Yeah.
go do more. They need the zone 2 day, not zone 5 day
They need
conversation.
permission to fill their cup, probably, right? And that's exactly the
Okay.
type of person I tend to work with, is somebody who's very focused on checking all the boxes, like high achiever, perfectionist, like driven. It's almost more comfortable to bring down the dial than to crank it up, because it's very addictive to be operating off of adrenaline and cortisol. And it's super uncomfortable. It's like, you look around anywhere at the airport, wherever you're at, everybody's staring at their phones. It's super uncomfortable being present and like not being entertained or like having something like going on. So for your average person that you're describing, I would say that, and if you want to like merge two buckets together, we can call sleep, recovery, nervous system, we could call all that, but it's filling that tank back up, because it's like you're demanding your car keep driving with a basically empty gas tank, and what happens.
Absolutely. You go nowhere very quickly and
Mhm.
destroy your car while you're doing it.
Exactly.
So, folks, recovery sleep, right?
Mhm.
We just merged two buckets to make one bucket because we didn't want to put one ahead of the other. Because sleep is, and because to me, and that's why I probably didn't list recovery as one of my buckets, Katie. Sleep to me
Yeah.
is the ultimate form of recovery. There are other things, of course, yet sleep is the ultimate form, and letting our body get into the correct stasis while we are in a deep sleep, not eating just before bed, so our digestive system is still working instead of our repair systems working, et cetera, as you were talking about there. So, folks, take nothing from this. Let's get a little more recovery, which means it's okay sometimes to stop, which means it's okay to go to sleep, which means it shouldn't be a badge of honor to say, I only got 4 hours of sleep last night and look at me. That's the badge of honor you used to wear.
Mhm.
Today's society, those who really want to succeed are saying, yeah, I got my 8 and then did more with my other 16 than you did with your 20 because you only got 4.
Well, let
Right.
me ask you
Um,
something, like, even during the day, like, because you talked about the nighttime, but even during the day, you can have, like, quick recovery. So think, like, is your day a marathon or a bunch of sprints? Like, look at a physique of a marathoner, like, let's say average, like, recreational marathoner. Like, elite guys or gals are, like, you know, physical specimens, but, like, if you're talking about, like, a sprinter, like, when you're watching the Olympics, or a marathoner who looks like they're like having fun and ready to kick ass and like have some, vitality behind them, right? It's
Usain Bolt.
exactly. So like think about your day that way. Do you want to be a sprinter, like charging forward, and then you take a recovery and then you go 100%, but you don't like try to drag it out all day, cuz, like.
Okay, so let's attack that before we shift to one of the other buckets I definitely
Mhm,
want to jump into. Let's help our audience
mhm,
turn their day into a sprint or a
mhm.
series of
Yeah.
sprints, not a marathon.
Mhm,
We hear that expression, of course, in many things. If they're going, they've got a meeting with a client,
mhm,
they've got a bunch of phone calls they're going to make because they're sales industry people.
mhm,
So they're going to make their calls. They're going to go on some appointments for some sales opportunities. They're going to meet with their team. They're going to do this, do that. They're going to meet with their
mhm,
family. They're going to, what are some of the recovery things that they can do? Because, okay, so whatever sprint one is for you folks,
mhm.
sprint one's done. What would you say, Katie? It's 10 o'clock in the morning, or maybe it's 11. What sort of things could they do through the day that don't take hours
Mhm.
that could become the recoveries before they sprint again?
All right. Boundaries and margins. So, boundaries, like when you're having a meeting, start it and stop it on time. Because when it spills over, now you're creeping in and it's like, energy leakage right there, right? So, if you're starting and stopping on time, then you can create the margins to like get that break where you're like looking away from the computer, you're walking around, filling up water. You can literally breathe for 1 minute. It takes less than a minute to shift your nervous system state from I'm going, fight or flight, to I'm chilling, rest, recovery, digest. And so again, it's not the like, hour for hour swap. It's you can't expand time, but you can expand your energy. So if you give yourself 1 minute to bring it down, you can expand your productivity after that. And so we're so used to the zero sum game where, oh, if I spend 10 minutes doing this meditation, I've lost 10 minutes here. No, actually, you should gain like hours of efficiency and focus and creativity, and therefore your output. And so if you can, you know, block out your day or plan your day in a way where you have little margins between meetings or appointments or sales calls, whatever you're doing during the day, instead of like jamming the edge right up to the beginning of the next one, you're going to be so much more fresh and on point. Getting outside, getting like sunshine on your skin, in your eyes, that's going to help your circadian rhythm. That's going to help your immunity. It's going to help a lot of things, just like breathing fresh air, but being in the sunshine. So, if you had even 5 minutes between calls, go make a lap, like that adds up. But you don't have to just be sitting in your chair all day long. Stand up. Maybe you don't even leave your office, but, like staying hydrated, staying in front of the hydration before you get behind it. There's lots of little things like that that don't really cost money or like spend a lot of your minutes, but expand the production of your future minutes.
Love that. Folks, it's okay to stop and stare out the window for a few minutes. It's okay to go outside and just walk a lap. It's okay to, behind closed door, if you're in a meeting, if you're in your office or whatever, stand up and stretch, right? There's nothing wrong with doing that. American pastime, baseball, stops intentionally in the middle of the seventh inning and does a seventh inning stretch to get everybody moving, just to get your body going and all of that and change your focus. So that's a great little tip in there. Folks, a little side note. I heard you mention hydration in there, folks. Half the time that you think you're hungry, you're thirsty, right? So drink. And by the time you feel thirsty, it's too late. You're already beyond the point. So stay ahead of hydration. Don't say, oh, I'll just chug a bottle when I feel thirsty. Your body only digests water at a certain amount before it flushes everything, and it's not doing the good for you. It should be a continuous sipping opportunity all day when possible. Katie, let's make a left turn.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. You got something you wanted to add?
I was going to ask you, speaking of hydration, do you know how many ounces of water you should be drinking a day?
Half your body weight in ounces every day.
So a good tip, if you're like, because if you're like, oh, I just forgot about it, it's 4 p.m. If, you set an alarm for 10 o'clock to get a third of your body ounces in by then, another one by 2 p.m., and then another one by 6, then you're not backloading that and keeping yourself up all night. So again, those are little recovery things throughout the day just to be intentional about or mindful about.
That's a great point, right? Folks, do your best an hour before you go to sleep, at least, to be done with your hydration for the day. That will help you get through the night without waking up a fifth time to run to the bathroom. Okay. I'm turning left, sort of. Okay. One of the other buckets I mentioned in there that we agreed is a bucket is nutrition. And that's probably the thing that first came up when I was introduced to you as a potential interview guest to come to the podcast, was nutrition matters, Chad. And Katie, because of our time, right, I'm going to put some guide rails on this. I don't want to talk about we've all heard it, right? Stop eating processed food. Stop eating all that sugar, right? We've all heard that to a point that we're numb to hearing it, I think. Let's go to the next level. Our audience is smart enough to be on that introductory nutrition conversation. They do a lot of eating on the go. A lot of these people that are listening are probably listening in their car right now and probably eating something while listening as I'm saying this. So let's keep that in mind. Let's help our audience with nutrition for wanting to improve their performance level. What are a few tips you would give high achievers without giving me the basics? Folks, stop eating all that processed food.
It's a basic that your grandma probably said, but you probably haven't thought about it or you completely dismissed it. And when it's a high achiever, what did I say we're in? We're in a fight or flight, like go mode state, right? So what are we not in? We're not in rest and digest. What does that mean? It means when we're in rest and digest, our body can actually produce digestive enzymes to break down the food and like receive the nutrients to the cellular level to give us real energy versus just pass it straight through and create a bunch of bloat and gas because it's all like unprocessed. So chew your food. Like it doesn't matter what you're eating. It's almost, and this sort of kills me as like a nutritionist to say this, but how you eat your food is actually just as important as what you eat. Because if you are eating the most amazing organic, pasture raised, like organic everything, and you're inhaling it and you're like stress eating while you're like working at the computer or like running around your island or driving in your car, as you said, you're not going to get full benefit of those nutrients because you're in fight or flight. But when you're in rest and digest, you can actually break it down. So this can be a reason why people feel hungry all the time and they feel like they're gaining weight or like waist weight. And they're like, I'm always hungry. I'm never satisfied because we're not in rest and digest before we're eating. So like what we eat aside, how we eat, sit down on your butt, like give yourself 5 minutes, ideally more. But if you're like wandering around your island eating or in your car, park for 5 minutes. Like back to the margins. We need more margins in the day, to have that high output. So chew your food, do 1 minute of breathing right before you eat, because that shifts you immediately. And then eat your food. And this is going to sound super crazy, but like, have you ever eaten putting your phone down? Like not looking at it if you're by yourself? How awkward is that for people? For most people,
I'm
that's like
thinking about the
painful.
last time I was. I'm thinking about the last time I was eating by myself, and if I had my phone. I think the last time I was okay, I was staring out my window. Yet I think probably 70% of the time, yeah, I'm probably scrolling
Yeah.
emails, texts, searching something while I'm eating if I don't have
Mhm.
a companion that I'm there to pay attention to.
Totally. And it's kind of like go to the bathroom with your phone, right? It's like it's everywhere with
You're
you.
not allowed to go to the bathroom without your phone. I
Yeah,
didn't think you were allowed to go
I know
without your
it's
phone
so
anymore.
inefficient. But yeah, just even trying to be a little more present with what are you eating and actually enjoying it versus like inhaling it or feeling guilty about whatever you're eating. Like savor it. Cause guess what? That, Big Mac isn't as delicious if you're chewing and noticing every bite. You're like, oh, that's kind of nasty. Like I do want to snarf it down because who wants to let that linger any longer? But if it's a good ribeye, some good sea salt and like, sides to it, you do want to make that thing last a little bit longer. So any macros aside, that is like my number one tip for high achievers who are
Okay.
probably not giving themselves any time for food.
You know what? And that's probably enough of a tip for nutrition for every one of our audience members to now improve their nutrition
Mhm.
just by saying, okay, I have to be stationary for 2 minutes before I'm even allowed to start eating. And I have to just be a little bit slower. I heard somewhere, I do not do this. My wife is much better at this than I do, that we're supposed to chew every bite like 30 times or
Mhm.
something like that. I mean, to
Yep.
me, by like the eighth
Yeah.
chew, I'm
You're
like, there's
bored.
nothing left, you know.
Well, it depends what you're
I'm,
eating, yes. But I
I'm
was just
chewing
gonna
my
ask you, how
phone at
many
this point.
bites do you think a bite of something should? It's 20 to 40, depending on what the texture is. Obviously, meat might require a few more chews than like applesauce, but that's the consistency you want to get it to is applesauce. And most people aren't there. It's like chomp, chomp, swallow. And then they're like, oh, it's weird. I'm always bloated. I have gas. I feel hungry. It's like, well, yeah, because you have this big wad of food that has not like actually been assimilated. It's just like passing straight through you.
Yeah, my wife asked me if I tasted that many times. She goes, did you even taste that? I'm like, I was hungry and no.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get food in. Okay, so one of the things you offer people, and they'll want to get a hold of you, is the shopping list the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, folks, I'm going to give you a website right now. Write this down. It's My Peak 365. And that's my
Hmm.
peak, Peak 365, the numbers,
Hmm.
365 as in days a year, .com/shopping list.
Hmm.
If you go to mypeak365.com/shopping list and fill out the form there, Katie is sending you a
It's a
quick good shopping list and some recipes to go with the items you're recommending.
In and out of the store in less than 10 minutes. It gives you some good proteins, veggies, fat, salt, just like the basic things to have. And 3 like quick, recipes on how to whip those things together. Like, what do I do with this? And
So I'm
you
sure
can,
Doritos and Oreos are on that list,
right,
right? Because I
exactly.
know what
Numbers 1
aisle
and 2.
they're in.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Just
Yes.
wanted to make sure, Bob. All right. So, Katie, that's one way for them to get a hold of you is to go to the website and get that. Is there another way, following you on Instagram, reaching out to you? If they want more on their blood work, what should they do?
Yeah. So my website is mypeak365.com. And then the Instagram, I'll post like reels of just anything health related, like quick recipe ideas, because something that a lot of people will balk at initially is, I don't want to cook. I'm like, you don't need to be a short order cook and like make these elaborate things. It should be super quick and super delicious. And I went to culinary school like maybe just over 10 years ago, was not a part of my plan at all. Of all the degrees I have, probably the most life-changing of all of them. And not that people need to go to culinary school. That's why I try to like, here's the cliff notes, here's the essentials. And I work with athletes, kids, adults, and it's always like my 20-year-old guys who are like, holy cow, like the work I do in the kitchen is what transforms my body from the gym. That's how, big of a thing, because you can't outrun, you can't out supplement a crappy lifestyle, crappy diet. Like and that's what I learned from culinary school.
That's why nutrition was one of the buckets I definitely wanted us to dive into. And I think slowing down and chewing your food is a great, powerful reminder to get into that. Your Instagram handle is?
mypeak365.
Okay. So folks, just so it's easy to find Katie. All right, Katie, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a second to think while I'm talking. I'll vamp a little bit for you here. I want 1 minute, whatever you want to say. It can be something you've already talked about that you're like, this is so important, folks, listen. Or it could be something that did not get asked today that you have on your heart that you're like, this is one thing I really hope Chad asks me about. Oh, he didn't. This is my opportunity to share it. I'm going to put you on the clock. 1 minute, folks, before she starts. Remember, it's mypeak365. It's the website /shopping list is going to get you right to that shopping list. You can find her on Instagram so that you can learn more from Katie. All right, Katie, here we go. On the clock. 3, 2, 1, go.
We got sold the equation calories in versus calories out. And it is part of the equation, but not the whole equation. And the reason that equation leads to a lot of burnout is because so many people are like, oh, if I eat this, then I'll just do all this extra exercise, which is not part of like a periodized strategic plan. And people start burning those adrenals. So when it's about the quality of the food, the quality and the intention of like the training session, that's all a part of the bigger plan. And so the calories in, calories out is an oversimplistic model that works for like equipment, but not humans because it misses hormones. And that's what all this functional deep dive is how is each person's physiology impacting their performance.
Love that. Folks, if you're ready to get all of your numbers figured out and then figure out what you're doing with those numbers when it comes to the levels of things in your body, when you're wondering what supplements to take or stop taking that you are taking, that you're wondering the reason for it, you need someone like this in your world. Don't hesitate to reach out to me so I can point you in a direction, help you however I can. Or of course, Katie right there, as we said, mypeak365 if you want to connect with her. Katie, thank you so much for making this conversation way more interesting than any conversation I have with Bob. Bob, love you. You knew I was going to say it at some point. We really appreciate you taking the time coming and helping our high achievers become healthier high achievers by sharing what you shared today. Folks, share this episode with someone because there is someone you know that needs it and they won't listen to you when you say it. Until our next episode, as always, do good.